All right, we are like we should have got into like World Cup soccer to start out the show with because I don't know how many people on here watch that, but
I was gonna say you want to lose your viewers. That's a good way to do it.
yeah, we were glued to it, man. We were just glued to it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Actually, I'm kind of sad that it's over with because it was kind of a bonding experience because I don't watch a lot of sports honestly.
Yeah.
I got twin daughters, right? They're 18. They're going off to college here in about another month. So,
You gonna
that's
be okay with that?
I don't know, dude. It's like it just kind of hit me like last week. It kind of made me sad a little bit, and I'm trying not to
Yeah.
think about it. I think I'm going to be okay until we move them in, and then we drive away, and then
Oh
that's
yeah.
it's going to be. It's going to be a long drive back to Cape Girardeau from.
Where are they going?
They're going to Mizzou, Columbia, so it's about 3 hour drive. It's
That's not too bad.
No, it's an hour from Lake of the Ozarks. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'll give me an excuse to go down there and get on the water a little more.
Dude, I'll tell you, like I mean, I bawled when my parents drove away, and I feel like they probably bawled when they drove away. I'm gonna have a rough time with it when my boys are at that age.
Yeah, it's gonna be a change. They went to we'll start talking about fishing here in a little bit, but they went to Dominican with my mom. They were gone for like a whole week
Okay.
just last week. So we kind of got a
Yeah.
little bit of a taste of that empty nest deal. And then they came back and some friends of ours are left for Hawaii basically the day after my daughters got back from the Dominican. And so they had agreed to watch their dogs and water their plants. They have chickens. Their parents live right down the street and they're taking care of all of their pets and all of their plants and stuff. So they were home for like one day and then they've
Yeah.
been over at these other folks' house taking care of their house. So I haven't seen them hardly at all in 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm missing them. I mean, I'm even thinking about like canceling, a long weekend that I had planned for Kentucky Lake, just so I can be around them, a couple
Yeah.
extra days before they leave. So yeah, it's kind of starting to hit home a little bit.
Dude, I mean, it seems like it goes so fast. Like I saw somebody made a post and they were like the average person gets like 75 summers in their life. And I was like, oh no. I'm like, if you think of it that way, I'm like, I don't have that many summers left. And then I started thinking about the boys. I'm like, they're already 8 and 10. I'm like, they're gonna be out of the house in no time. And it goes fast. It really does. Be like I just you try to use things like that to be a reminder to be like, we gotta enjoy some parts of life, and have fun and cherish what we have.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, man. You nailed it. I think about that and like fishing sometimes. It's like you got spring comes up, and then you've only got so many springs
Yeah.
before you're done. And then if you're trying to fish on 5, 6, 7 different lakes, you're trying to learn springtime on those lakes, and it goes by quick. If you could focus on just like if you live 10 minutes from a lake, a big lake, let's say we
Yeah.
talk about Kentucky Lake, you could hammer on Kentucky Lake and, several springs, you could really get it dialed in. But when you're only going to that lake like once a spring or twice a spring and you're spreading it out to other lakes, it goes by quick, and then you're in the summertime, and then you're into fall, and then winter. It's just like this rotation that never
And
ends.
that's why like from a home field advantage, right? Like if you know a body of water so good where you're like they always get on this spot at this time of year when conditions do this. It's like those are like the local hammers, right? Like, but the
Mhm.
reality is the amount of time you have to be on the water to understand that. Like, you can't really do that if you were to travel the country and be like even with what I've done. I mean, I've been to Kentucky Lake so many times, right around the ledge season, right? And it's like I still feel like it's different every time I'm there. And like a good example is the Potomac River or any tidal water. It's always like you have these little windows, and it's like if you knew that perfect window, you pull up, catch three or four, you run the tide, and you could do it. But like to get to that point, that knowledge level of knowing those spots that good,
Yeah.
just think of the amount of time you have to be out there. Every low tide, every high tide, like, and it's not like you find it one time either. It's like you probably have to hit that spot 10 times to really figure out the exact timing. But it really, I mean, it just goes back to time on the water. If you spend enough time on the water and you learn it, you have an advantage just from that knowledge base.
It's like Kentucky Lake, talking about the ledge thing. It's like I've been trying to spend time down there, but I got the TVA app and I'm watching the flow levels and they're pulling like 60, 70,000. And I'm like, I need to be down there, but I can't get down there. So when I get down there, they drop it to they're pulling 12.
Yeah.
They're pulling 14, which totally changes everything. And then or maybe they'll have some rain and the water gets stained or something, and then it starts rising and it gets in the bushes at 360 and a half. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the bush thing. Well, then it falls like 1.5 feet before I can get down there. So you got the current flow variables, you got the water level variables. That's just two things.
And that's how many times do you have to fish those conditions, which may only happen once a year, maybe every other year, right? To have those exact conditions. It's like to be able to fully understand it. That's why, I can do that like in my backyard on the Wisconsin River here, literally off my shore. The amount of stuff that I have learned from the rising and falling waters levels as well as current flow, it's unbelievable, dude. Like I could go out today, throw a night crawler off the bank, literally in the same spot, right? Today it could be all smallmouth. They'll cut the current, let's say they cut it, they should close the gate. Same cast tomorrow, I will catch no smallmouth, but I'll catch sturgeon. And then the current ramps up, water comes up 2 feet, it'll be walleye. Like it's really wild to see that movement. And it's now that we started really fishing off the bank like during COVID. So it's been like probably 6 years at this point. And I can pretty much pull up my, app that tells me current flow and water level and be like, oh yeah, today I think we're going to catch the bluegill. Like the bluegill will be there, but they're not there if the current's a little higher. And it's like that's just one spot, right? Like that's just literally my backyard. Yeah. You take a Kentucky Lake 100+ miles long, it's massive. It's like, how do you dial that in? You got to be out, literally every day, right?
Yeah.
For a long time to get that sort of knowledge, to have it on multiple spots, multiple parts of the lake. And then you throw in, now that it's a heavy smallmouth fishery, things change because of that. Like it's you don't have that much time really to figure out a lake, let alone multiple lakes.
Yeah, and then at different current, they're pulling different current. It puts the fish in. They can be on a ledge, but at 20,000, they'll be on a different spot of the ledge than they will at like 70,000, and then at some point there's like current breaks that come into play.
Yeah.
And then it's like the early post spawners, they get on certain spots. The midsummer stuff, they're on different spots, but there's so many variables, but that's part of fish. That's like one of the fun things, I guess, as long as you just find it at least a couple times and you catch some fish. But if you're just out there running around like a chicken with your head cut off trying to put it together, it does get frustrating at times.
Honestly, it feels good when you find a spot like that holds up for a couple years. If you can get like 2 springs or 3 springs, you feel pretty good because everything changes so much to begin with. But yeah,
and it doesn't have anything in the background to give it away too. Like if you're creating content, there's not like a big blue house up on the hillside. So it's just part of it, man.
That happened to me the other day. I was out on a little local lake and I had a guy launch and he made a beeline right for me. And he's like, I thought this was the lake you filmed that video on. And I just was like, yeah, you got me. You found it. It's so much easier for me to get around if I'm just in my little tin boat. But like right now, I'm filming everything in the wrap skeeter, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to go to the little honey holes.
It's just a dead giveaway. You got a lot of water up there, man.
Yeah.
Like, is that just the same way as like Minnesota, like Wisconsin's got a lot
Yeah.
of
So where I'm at. I'm the town I live in, right outside of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. They call it the gateway to the North Woods. So basically, from us south, yeah, basically all the way to Illinois, you have much more like farmland type stuff, potato fields, a lot of. But if you go from me north, it's all like hardwoods, and that's where you start getting your lakes and the rivers. And I've got a lot. I've got a lot of smaller stuff within an hour of me, but if I want to drive an hour and a half, all of a sudden it's like, I mean, there's lakes everywhere, right? So yeah, it really opens it up. And there's times I kind of wish I was a little bit further north in general. It would just make things a little easier, but I'm not complaining, dude. I got a lot of water around me.
right. Well, let's dive right into it, man. I mean, last time
I don't know what we're talking about. You're like,
I
you
don't
want to
either.
jump on? I'm like, sure. I'm like, and I see some of the comments coming in. And I don't know, like let the drama begin and all this. I don't know if they're talking World Cup or there's something happened today that I'm not aware of that we need to discuss.
Yeah, like
You tell me what you want to talk about.
yeah, it's not like you get involved in drama or any rabbit holes or wormholes or anything like that.
The great Fergalicious said one time, drama, drama, we don't need no drama. I try to live by that.
I like it. No, I wanted to talk about, just to start out, and I'll just throw this question out. Is LiveScope affecting shallow fish? What's your thoughts on the influence of, these fish used to be able to have kind of a sanctuary to where they could hang out and rest and get away from people, but now they're getting beat up, quite often. How do you think that's affecting the shallow fish, or is it even affecting shallow fish?
Well, I don't know that it's affecting. So, I mean, obviously, I think the anglers and the technology have gotten so good that I don't know that there's any depth zone that's not feeling the effect of forward-facing sonar. I mean, if I'm fishing shallow, 2 foot of water, I still have mine on, and I'm generally not using it to see fish. I'm using it more to like identify weed lines or structure or, things, targets to throw at. So I think ultimately the fish are still being affected by it. My biggest question mark, when you hear people talk about, the shallow water fish are left alone, or that bite's getting better, or this or that. I just think, to me, I think you have a percentage of fish that live shallow pretty much year round. I think that's a small percentage of fish. I think, let's say 20%, right? Like, I don't know what that is, but that would be my assumption. And I think the rest of the fish are, you could call them homebodies, but I think they're homebodies between deep and shallow. So maybe they're, when they're not really actively feeding, they might be out suspended and then slide in when they're actively feeding, or, when a bait ball swims by, they might chase them shallow. I don't know. I think more fish live deeper. And I think with my question that I think about all the time is, are those fish that generally spend, that 80% of the fishery that spend their time more offshore, if they're being targeted more, does that disrupt their normal movements to go to the bank to feed? Meaning, if a fish is offshore and, they're getting ready to go shallow, all of a sudden they get scoped up and caught, does that then put them in some sort of dormancy state for 2 days, where maybe they don't move to the bank and they just kind of recoup back offshore, and then maybe start thinking about going to the bank, but now you've pushed that process back a couple days, which actually over the course of the year limits how often they go to the bank, which is a lower percentage of fish than moving to the bank. This is just a thought process I have.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen any studies that indicate anything like that. I mean, the studies you see, or I've seen, generally follow they tag a fish, they put a pit tag in them, the fish swims around, they mark it, and they're like, oh, he's 2 miles this way today, or he never left the area, right? But you don't really know if he's moving in and out versus offshore and inshore. And I just have to think that if the catch rate is higher, that the fish are being, I guess interfered maybe is the word. Their normal movements are being changed based on the catch rate. And I don't, if the idea is that they do move in and offshore, maybe that's changing that. Because I honestly don't think I think the bite has gotten tougher pretty much everywhere. I don't think there's been some great shallow water bite because more people are out in the middle of the lake. I haven't seen that at all. I would say that the shallow water bite has gotten tougher. But I would also add, I think there's also this. I think there's a lot of anglers that aren't using forward-facing sonar, and they almost feel like they have to go to the bank now, and they can't catch them offshore without it. Because I mean, I feel that way sometimes, where it's like, oh no, I want to fish this offshore point or something, and it's like I know I'm not being as efficient as I could be if I was using the technology. So it's like, do I start going to my high percentage targets that are shallower because I feel more confident in that now, knowing that if I not using forward-facing sonar doesn't really affect how efficient I am at fishing those shallow water targets, or it has less impact. So I kind of feel like there are more people fishing the bank than there were, because now you have people that feel like they can't fish offshore without it.
Yeah. So around here, I got a couple lakes that I frequent over in Southern Illinois, and they have grass. Grass always holds a population of fish because for obvious reasons. But it seems like with me personally, and I don't know anybody out here in the chat, if you can kind of chime in on this too, if this has been your experience, if you've got a lake that has grass or cover that's conducive to holding fish up shallower. And somebody asked, they had a question, what do you consider shallow? To me, shallow's like 6-7 feet or shallower, 6-7-ish, something like that.
Zero. I would say less than 10 for sure.
Yeah, right. But on these lakes around here, used to be able to, you could tie on like a 7-inch plastic worm or something, like a Berkeley power worm. That's a classic worm. It just catches. It's anywhere you go, you can catch fish on a 7-inch power worm for sure. Texas rig. It used to just be able to go down the bank, stay off the grass line, and just kind of fish slow. And you could have a decent day of catching fish. But it doesn't seem like that is going on over there as much as it used to. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it's, there's a couple theories maybe on it. Maybe just the fish aren't up there anymore. Or maybe they're up there and they're just smarter than they used to be, because there's more people fishing the lakes nowadays than it used to be. Maybe the fisherwomen are smarter, because they've been educated through social media, YouTube, platforms like you and me, that kind of stuff. Or they just don't get up there as much as they used to. I don't really know what the answer is, but I have noticed that that now there's windows, and I'm not talking about springtime. I'm not talking about when 80% of the fish are in 5 feet or less. I'm talking about like right now, if you go out there, because even in the summertime, grass will typically hold the fish up, fairly shallow to where you don't really have to have, scope or something or forward-facing sonar to target them. But it seems to me like it's a couple of lakes around here are like that. They used to just be, you can go down the bank and just old school fish and throw some Texas rig up there, drag it around, and you get some bites. But it's not as consistent as what it used to be. And I don't know exactly why. It's fine with me. It's just I still see a lot of people doing that, and I talk to them, and they struggle. Where you can pull out off the bank with a minnow or something and catch them.
It's funny you say that, because I was out. What was that? Tuesday. I was out yesterday morning. God, I'm getting old. And I like just fishing a lake that I've fished for years at this point, right? Like I know I can go out there. It's a good grass weedline lake, a summertime weedline lake. And one thing I've definitely noticed, like the last 2 years specifically, it used to be I could pull up to, there's a little indent in the grass, a little point. You pull up and there was always like, I don't want to say school like 20 fish, but generally, if you made 5 casts, you'd catch 3 fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just you pull up, you knew the exact cast. And there's, when I say, there's like probably 10 spots on this lake that I've always felt like I could pull up and do this. In the last 2 years, it's like you might pull up and catch one, but you're not going to catch multiple. But if you could trigger one to go after 15 or 20 casts, a lot of times then you could catch 3 or 4. So it was like, it's almost like they're just not willing to go unless you trigger that feeding frenzy. And I don't know. I know the lake gets more pressure because I see that, like, I know that's happening, but it's a total different behavior. It used to be first cast. You always had to you wanted to make the right first cast, and you would catch 3 or 4 generally on those first couple of casts. And now it's like, no, it's like they're there. You just got to get one to bite and then they go. And I have heard some of my buddies say the same thing about some of the ledge lakes too, where it's like you pull up on a spot. Generally speaking, your first cast is your best bet, but there's like, you can see them a lot of times, right? You just can't get them to go. And then if you can trigger one, you get them to go. And it just seems like they're definitely more educated or wary or just, more reluctant to bite. And, I don't know, like you said, I think forward facing plays a part, but I can also say, like, on a lot of the little lakes around here, there is the I would say the normal angler out there is not fishing real high, tech stuff. They might have a depth finder, but they don't have forward facing sonar. But I will add, like the lake I was just talking about, so I live where the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point is, and they were one of the first college fishing teams, and they've got a very large fishing team. I mean, there's probably, I want to say 35 guys on that team, at least the last time I, checked in with it, and they're all got their, bass boats and forward facing. And every lake around here, the good forward facing, like the lakes where they get out and suspend, the college kids are definitely out there having some fun on them. So like, again, I have no issue with that. Like I would be doing the same thing if I was back in college and I had the fishing team. I'm just saying those fish are clearly getting much more pressure than they used to.
Yeah.
And they probably would be getting the pressure regardless if there wasn't forward facing sonar, because we still have the college, right? That has the team now. But I think, it goes back to catch rate. Like if the catch rate is higher, even if that's only 1 or 2 fish per angler every time out, there's just much higher overall catch rate. So there's gotta be some correlation to that higher catch rate, which does correlate to forward facing sonar. It's just a matter again of like, how much do the fish truly get educated? You know what I mean? Like, is it like they've seen a wacky rig 1,000 times, and after the 800th time they just finally said, no, I'm not doing it, can't do it anymore?
Yeah.
Or like, is it more up to the angler to make the right cast to trigger them? Like there's a lot that goes into it, but I do think if I had to really pinpoint it, I think it's the angler level is high. I think the pressure is high, but I think more than anything, the skill level of anglers is so much better, like so much better. So like, if you had 10 guys out on the water before and half of them were catching 1 or 2 fish a day, I'd be surprised now if, everyone going out isn't catching a limit's worth of fish. So it's just,
Yeah.
I just think it's pressure.
I think it's pressure too. I think you're right. I definitely think there's no doubt about the fish being smarter. You can just, it just seems like I have to work harder to catch fish. I mean,
Yeah.
I
A lot
can't.
harder.
I know, dude. It's not
Like
like
a lot harder. Like especially if you're out making content, I've got lakes I can go to and I'm like, yeah, I can make the content I need to make. I don't have any lake necessarily anymore where I'm like, I know I can go there. It'll be easy. I can get it done. Because the reality is, and this goes, it sounds like I'm blaming the college kids. I am not blaming the college kids. I love most of them around here. I'm buddies with anyways. But what I will say is one thing that is unique. So when I was their age in college, we didn't have a fishing team. I was fishing local tournaments at that time, right? Like in this area. I was jumping in with my buddy. He was same year as I was in college. There ain't no way I'm gonna tell you where I'm catching my fish. Like just the juice lakes in the area. I mean I if I at that time I would have told you I was on a different lake. Today it's like, especially with the lakes around here that aren't tournament wise, and I don't feel like the college kids are jumping in local tournaments anyways, but like the good juice holes, like the lakes I had in this area, when word gets out one of those lakes is on fire, everyone is there because it's like, hey, come on over. The bites here, great. Oh, they're floating right now. You can scope them up, catching 20 plus pounds a day. That was not a thing, at least in the network of people
yeah.
that I was taught. Like I could barely get teammates, like team partners, to tell me where they were catching the fish. And I just feel like the communication and information now, it's so different. If it's like even if it's, and this is one thing I'm super jealous with, I a lot of, you come out of college and you fish so many major lakes around the country, you've fished against so many other colleges around the country that you become buddies with all these kids. So it's like when you come out, if you want to make it go at the professional level and the schedule comes out and you're allowed to get information, well, I'll call Billy. I went to school with him, right? And he lives in Florida now. Or I went here, and it's like the network is unbelievable with respect to the information. And it's all legal. I have no problem with it. I just look at it and say, man, I did not have that when I graduated school. I was the weird guy that fished. Like there was
Yeah.
no fishing team. It was just completely different. So it's hard. I feel like I mean, and this happens at the national level. You hear of a lake that starts popping off, and next thing you know, there's 1,000 boats there because there's no secrets, right? I mean, I could rattle off. I mean, you look at like OH Ivy, that was a
Yeah.
secret lake for a while, and now everyone goes down there and they're like, man, it's just beaten up. And there's 50 lakes around the country that fit that category, and it's like, man, as soon as something gets hot, it's generally not quiet for a while.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was called like Bullard's Bar, that where they were
Yeah,
catching
the
the
big
giant
spotted bass.
spots
Yeah,
at. Yeah. That was like a sleeper, and then it got out, and so it started getting hammered all the time. And
yeah,
I miss the days, Matt, when you could just like, and I try this, and it's like 1 out of 10 times. Well, it doesn't even work like it used to. But I miss the days when you could just put on like a 3/8 ounce finesse jig with a little speed crawl or something on the
yeah,
back, and just go down the bank and just relax and catch fish. It's
yeah.
so rare now. It is so rare to do that, at least around here. I mean,
It's
even
no, it's
doing
getting
that,
big.
you got to work hard to get it to catch some fish around here. It's
Yeah, it used to be for like the lakes in my area. It used to be like if I went out, I saw somebody, it was like, are they bass fishing? Like, it was kind of like, I don't think they're bass fishing.
yeah,
Now it's like I pull into the ramp hoping to not see anybody, and there's 5 bass boat trailers in this tiny little ramp, and I can't even find a place to park. And it's like, man, like I used to have these lakes all to myself, and it's just not the same way. So I going back to your initial question of like the shallow water fish, I don't think I personally feel like the shallow bite has gotten tougher. I
mhm.
really do feel that way. But I think the bite as a whole has gotten tougher. I mean, it's been a while since I've gone to a lake that, is a decent, I'll say a tournament lake, whether it's at a local level or at the professional level, like your big lakes. And it's been a while since I've gone out and just been like, man, this fishery is on fire. I mean, it doesn't happen much anymore.
Okay, here's a question. This is like some Rick Clun stuff, but it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
Do you think that there is, and I'm not sure the exact phrase of this, but it's like quantum, almost like telepathy, where I've actually heard studies where the offspring of fish that have been caught a bunch, they pass on the genetics of
Mhm.
they're more weary. Their offspring are more weary of, I don't want to say like, a rattle trap of a certain bait, but they become educated, not necessarily by actually physically grabbing a bait, but it's genetically transferred
Yeah.
through the offspring. Do you think that, school A out here is getting hammered and hammered and hammered from scopers with a minnow or whatever? Is it possible that school B can somehow become weary because their cousins and stuff have been caught? Do you think there's something that can be, are they being educated not by actually physically getting a hook put in them, but there's some kind of nature thing that can happen
Yeah.
out there? What's your thoughts on that? I
I
mean,
mean, I think evolution is a thing,
mhm.
right? Like, I think, it's survival of the fittest. Genetics are a huge part of everything. I mean, I've been dealing with a little patch of poison ivy in my yard, and I was thinking to myself the other day, like, somebody figured out we shouldn't be in poison ivy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's and there are people that aren't affected by poison ivy. So is that, from a genetic standpoint, is that because their ancestral line,
Mhm.
has kind of evolved them past it? I 100% think yes. The question I would ask is, how fast does that take? How fast does that happen, right? Like, is it from one generation to the next, or is it 10 generations down the line where,
Right.
they learn that the Berkeley power bait stink is a smell they shouldn't go by, right? Like, I can tell you, like, I was at the Berkeley headquarters in Spirit Lake. Have you ever been there?
No, no.
Okay, so I was invited to go. They had a Walleye Pro Summit weekend, so they invited me to be the bass guy representative, which mostly has to do with the fact that I live in the north and can relate somewhat to walleye fishermen, I think. But
Yeah.
so I went. I was there, and it's unbelievable to me the amount of actual scientific studies that they do. Like, and I don't know how much I can actually talk about because it really is like secret stuff, but I can tell you that they have actual, you walk into some of these rooms and they have just aquariums, like a giant room full of aquariums that have a bass in it or a bluegill in it or a catfish. And these are test fish, and these fish get rotated on a very regular basis, right? Like, because they don't, I believe, once they use a fish in a study, they release it in a local lake or whatever, and they get a new batch of fish that come in so they can test those fish. But they've done tons and tons of studies with these fish, and what they have found like very, very strong correlation. The fish almost always bites a bait real fast, like first cast, first time it sees the bait. The next time it sees the bait, it like drops drastically from like anywhere from like 2 hours before it'll bite that bait again to like days, like huge periods of time. So there's to get the fish to bite the first time, not that big of a deal. But how many times can you get the same fish to bite that same bait again? And how long did it take you to get them to bite or interact with it? And I mean, they've got like various like tanks that are like racetracks where they can just test baits and see how many times, the bait goes by fish. And it's wild to watch, but there is, um, it is very, very evident that after that first interaction, the bass are not nearly as interested. And, whether that's them testing it, tasting it, you and I can grab it, right? And feel, if I don't know what it is, I'm going to put it in my hands, but they got to put it in their mouth. They don't have hands. So they test it, whether they're just trying to figure out what it is or whether it's edible or why they do it. I don't know, but the fact that they're not biting it that second time, or it takes a really long period of time to get them to bite it again, like that indicates they don't want to bite it for some reason, right? So like if you're talking about that genetics portion, like you would have to think that some of that gets passed down in some form or fashion. Like it wouldn't even surprise me. I mean, I don't want to sound like a complete weirdo, right? But like I've started reading some of this stuff. Like my wife is on me. She's reading, I don't know the name of the book, but there's like a book that talks about how trees communicate. And a lot of it is through like different fungi and things, like different things, but the trees literally are communicating with each other. And most people would be like, you're crazy. But there is actual data that shows this. I don't know why we would think a school of fish can't communicate with another school of fish. Like just because we don't hear them talking doesn't mean that they're not releasing a hormone or they're not maybe communicating in some way, right? Like, so I think that is probably happening in some form or fashion, whether it's just maybe more of a hormone or something that indicates to other fish, hey, something's sketchy right now, or whether it's, hey, don't bite that, that red bug worm. Like, I don't know how clear the communication is, but I tend to give more credit to nature than I think we as a whole probably do generally.
I've seen this. I love what you're talking about with the plants and stuff, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts about that within the last couple of years, and I'm always amazed. Like
wild,
yeah, like so there's a tree and a giraffe is eating the leaves on the tree. Okay, this tree sends a pheromone out, and the wind's blowing a certain direction. Those trees that are downwind from the tree that's getting eaten by the caterpillar or the giraffe or whatever, they will pick up that pheromone and they will change their taste palette or their taste profile to something that's not as attractive to the animal that's eating said tree upwind. So when that animal comes down to the next tree, it takes a bite and it doesn't taste good and it leaves.
Yeah,
that
crazy.
Actually,
that stuff actually happens.
And it's going on around us all the time. And the roots are communicating, and it's So I think that for sure. I mean, I know for sure that if you catch, this happened to me just not too long ago. You catch a fish out of a school, he jumps out of the water and he comes off. A lot of times that will shut the school off, because he releases a stress hormone or whatever they do. The other fish pick it up and they know that they just, they'll swim up to your bait because you're looking at them, but they won't commit anymore. So who's to say that that's not transferred throughout the water system? I don't know, but I have to believe there's something to it. It just makes sense, but I don't know how. There's fish that are back to the Berkeley lab type stuff. There's probably fish that are gullible. They're more gullible than your standard fish. Just like humans.
I would be. I mean, I would be the guy. If you kept putting a chocolate chip cookie in front of me, I'm eating that dang thing. Exactly. Like even if I don't like how it tastes, I'm probably gonna finish it. You put that cookie in front of my wife, and she's just gonna be like, "Nah, I don't want that cookie today." Like you have to like. There's a really rare day when she's gonna eat that cookie. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think a lot of it comes down to individual fish, but there's also like, there's got to be some genetic aspect to it. There's got to be something that.
There it is, the hidden life of trees.
Oh man, she's watching too.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna go check it out. That stuff's so interesting to me.
It is like, it's wild. I mean, Mother Nature is a powerful thing, and I mean, you were you were saying about losing the fish. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times. There was one time on Lake Champlain, I had the wildest 5 casts of my life. Like, I threw into a spot, you know, I mean, it was just like 3 to 4 pounders were coming and, you know, trying to eat that bait. And it was just like, I mean, every cast you'd have one. And then on one of them, I had the fish come up. I actually had a fish get off at the side of the boat. I'm looking at my bait, a jerk bait that far under the water, and another one came up and ate it and power bombed and broke me off. And I never had another bite in that spot. And it was just like, I know because that fish broke off with that bait in its mouth, something changed. And it went from being literally the wild, like just like schools of fish fighting over my jerk bait to just gone, like just not even existent. And that has happened so many times. And you hear it, you'd be watching a live stream and somebody breaks off a fish or, you know, loses a fish and they're like, school's over. I mean, it's like at this point, that happens, and there's got to be some sort of stress hormone or something, or he's swimming down there going, guys, it's not a chocolate chip cookie, it's a, you know, it's a crankbait with hooks. Like, don't do it.
Yeah, 100% right. And there's places like, back to where you're talking about, there were lakes where you could go if you wanted to create content, and they were kind of shoe-ins. You could catch fish and you could make it happen. There were places where if I just needed a couple fish, say I'm doing a shaky head video or whatever, you know, and I'm making it work. It's not easy. I'm making it work. But I just need, I don't know, maybe a couple fish to just kind of, you know, put the bookends on the video there.
Yeah.
There used to be a few places where I could go and get a bite most of the time. Though a lot of those places I can't get that bite anymore. I don't know exactly why. I mean, maybe because in my videos I've showed it too many times and there's somebody that's, you know, already educated those fish. I don't know, but it just seems like it's there's not as many of those places as there used to be. I don't know.
I agree. I think things have gotten tougher as a whole. It's harder to find those like little gem lakes too. Like that was something that, I mean, it used to be you could basically just throw a dart at a map of Wisconsin and every lake was good. And now it's like, it's not that way at all.
Jim had a really good comment right here. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I kind of passed over it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So he says your confidence fishing like that is a lot different now than back then. Makes a big difference. So talking about just going down the bank and throwing a worm, and I do fish a lot differently than I did back then. So maybe I don't keep that worm in my hand for 4 hours and just throw at the, you know, bank for 4 hours.
Yeah.
I probably don't. I mean, I know I don't fish that way anymore. So maybe that is just me changing my styles a little bit too.
I wonder how much too, like I wonder how much the mindset, the confidence level is built into knowing that maybe you should be doing something else, right? Like, so we're always trying to be catch as many fish as possible. So like I know for me right now, like if I'm just fishing down the bank, in the back of my head, I'm always like, there's probably a scope place. Maybe I can catch them better. Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that relates to maybe I'm not even necessarily catching less fish. I'm just thinking about how maybe I could be catching more. And because I feel that way, like that's one of the things with the MLF Pro Circuit format that I don't really like how they do 3 hours a day with scope. And I don't like it because I feel like you have to basically have two practice sets. You know, you practice with scope and you practice without. And I've always been one that I like to formulate the game plan around what I can figure out. So I wouldn't go into an event where I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to catch them with scope. It was, I'm going to go figure out how to catch them and utilize the tools I need to catch them. And I think though the mindset by a lot of anglers now is like, if you're not using scope, you're not doing what you should be doing. Whether that's true or not, meaning maybe the scope bite is terrible, or there's no, whatever, you can't make it work. But the mindset at this point, because of all of the comments and the social media and everything out there, is, well, you're not, if you're not scoping, you're hoping.
Yeah.
So is there a lack of confidence just because you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing?
Do you think fish can feel your energy through the fishing line? And I mean, that sounds kind of woo-woo, but I mean, so it kind of goes back to confidence too, in a way. It's like, do you think that, and this is coming up from my buddy Jerry. We used to fish all the time, and we kind of give each other crap because the bite was tough, and we're sending that negative energy down our line. Like we're not I don't want to say you can will fish into biting, but I almost feel sometimes it's like, if your confidence level is low, it seems like the fish can, I don't know how to put it in, I don't know how to articulate it properly, but there's, to me, sometimes there's something that's going on there outside the water and inside the water.
So I would say that's more mental.
Right.
Like, meaning, so when you hear people talk about being in the zone, to me as a fisherman, being in the zone is when I'm visioning the bite before getting the bite. You know what I mean? Like, which is what you're talking about. Like you make a cast and you're like, I'm gonna get a bite. And then you get a bite. And it's like you feel like you just willed that fish into biting. I personally feel like that is like all of your intuitions capturing everything that's happening, going off of your previous experience. Everything is right to get that bite. And then you get that bite because you're using your previous experiences that are telling you, for, subconsciously, basically, that conditions are perfect for whatever you just did, and you're going to get a bite. And I think that's why you get a bite a lot of the times. I don't believe I'm willing the fish to bite. I believe that my head is telling me everything is right because of something I've done. But I do 1000%. I've always said that I think fishing is 50% confidence. Like, if you're not confident in what you're doing, you might as well put it on the trailer and go home. Like, because you're just not going to catch it. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why you see, if you go talk to a lot of anglers who have bad tournaments or bad seasons, and you ask them, like, was there anything else going on in your life at that time? And a lot of guys will be like, yeah, I was going through a divorce, or yeah, I had, a family member was sick, right? And there's these other things that you're on the water. Dude, you know how it is. Like, everyone watching knows how this is. You're in the boat for 8 hours by yourself, right? You think about a lot of stuff.
Right.
And if you've got other things going on in your life that are of concern, I think it's only human nature to be concerned about that and not worried about, was my last cast exactly where it needed to be? Like, you're just going through the motions. And if you're just going through the motions, you're probably not going to have a real productive day on the water.
Yeah, Rob nailed it right here. Confidence affects cadence. And I mean, when you're not feeling it, you're throwing a worm out there and you're just like hopping it a couple times and you're reeling it in and you're throwing it out there. You're just casting. You're not really fishing. It's like the chances of you catching fish doing that, you might every once in a while, but versus, you're throwing it out and you're really focusing on what you're doing, and you got a lot of confidence in that bait. That's exactly what you're just saying. And that's all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I do. I just think that, I mean, that's one of the things where I always get somewhat frustrated when people are like when you hear people telling other anglers how they have to do it. And it's like, dude, if you're telling them what they're doing is wrong, but they're confident in what they're doing, you're like taking away part of their soul. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they're doing what they've always caught fish with. And I think even though, you may disagree with that they're using the wrong rod or the wrong line. The reality is if they're catching fish and they're confident in what they're doing, it's better to be probably not using the correct tackle, but confident in the tackle you're using than it is to be not confident in the correct tackle.
Yeah, 100%. I've learned a lot from people that were fishing a bait wrong and catching fish, fishing the bait wrong.
Yeah.
I learned that there's other ways to fish that bait besides the way that I'm fishing it.
Yeah.
Like swimming a drop shot. My daughter, Sophia, kicked my butt several times out of the back of the boat. When I told her, you know, you throw it out, you keep the bell open on the spinning reel. When the line goes limp, you know, you tighten it up and then you pull it a little bit and just wait and then pull it a little bit. Well, she starts catching fish. I'm fishing out the front. I'm not really paying attention. I started I'm like, how are you catching these fish? I'm throwing like a Ned rig too. We're both finesse fishing. I feel like I should be catching fish too. And she's got me like 4-1 out of the back of the boat. And so I started watching her and she's throwing it out and about halfway down, she's closing the bell and the drop shots I just got like, it's just a morning down robo worm, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But the drop shot's kind of swinging through the water column like that. And those fish are suspended and she's catching them. And I'm telling her that's not how you catch fish, but she's catching fish. So
that's what's always kind of funny too, when you have two people in a boat supposedly doing the exact same thing, and you're like, I don't understand why one person is up, 6 fish to none on the other person. And maybe they're doing something different. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe they're, like you're saying, sending positive vibes down that line. I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain sometimes. Maybe it's just sheer luck, right? That the one person, for whatever reason, made 6 good casts and the other person didn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. I mean, if you grid out the bottom of the lake, like you took let's just say you're spot locked or you're power pole down and you're fishing a 50-yard stretch of bank. It's what you can cast to. And if you think about gridding that whole entire bank at 6-inch intervals, like you're making a cast, you're moving over 6 inch, 6 inch, 6 inch, and that fish is only willing to move 1 foot to get your bait. Think about how many times you don't drag that bait by the fish. And then think about how fortunate you are to actually get a bite when a fish is in like kind of a neutral mindset. So you could say that there is some luck in that because you're actually making a lucky cast and dragging it in front of a fish, where if you would have casted 2 feet to the right or left, that fish wouldn't even have moved. I think
that's the thing, like, especially if you're talking around grass. I mean, you got to hit that little chamber that those fish are sitting in. But I also think, going back to, the catch rates being higher, that's, to me, that's what's the most valuable thing about forward facing sonar. It's like, I think everyone always assumes, oh, well, I'm just throwing it at the fish, right? But I think it's more valuable to see those little pieces of cover.
Yeah.
To see a stick that's on a flat that I can, that the fish is holding on, versus if I were fishing that flat, I would have to make the right lucky cast to bring it by that stick. And now I can scan and be really selective with the casts that are all going to be high percentage. Like, it really takes the fan casting aspect out of the game a lot of times. And, if you're hitting high percentage spots on the majority of your casts, your catch rate's going to go up because of that.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the, do you have an electronic sponsorship or not?
I work with Lowrance.
You work with Lowrance. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna throw the LiveScope 42 HD out there because it's like such a big buzz.
But yeah, I honestly haven't paid that much attention to it. I think if, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that more just about longer distance, like clearer picture, longer distance? I don't think there was anything else major to it. But again, I've been this whole past ICAST week, I really haven't paid attention to a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Did you go to ICAST or not?
No, I'm in the middle. We moved core tackle to my town up here, so like I'm in the middle of literally getting everything set up inventory wise and set up the way I want it. And I was like, I'm not taking a week off to go down to ICAST because I just need to get everything organized up here.
How's that going? Like the core tackle move? Are you on the
Uh,
better side of it now, or?
yeah, no, everything is. I won't say we're completely moved, but everything is much more manageable than where it was a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean that was that. So we had our fulfillment center was down in Arkansas, and we moved it up here, and now I mean basically my wife and I are doing most of it. I mean we've got some people helping with things, but it's been just really time consuming to get it set up and organized the way we want it. And now that we've got that, it should be hopefully smooth sailing from here on out. But I mean, it's a big order moving anything. I mean, it's like moving a house, right? I mean, it's a big ordeal, and there's definitely a period of time where you're like, where did I put the tape? Where is where like the stupid things, right? Like where are the staplers? Like I don't know where that went. But no, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine. It's like,
So that yeah, that was one of the main reasons I was like with iCast. I enjoy iCast. I think I've gone the last 5, maybe 6 years, and it felt weird not being there. That's probably one of the reasons I didn't pay that much attention to it, where it kind of made me sad I wasn't there. But
yeah,
um, I'm really glad I didn't go to. Just it's just an extra week, like I said, to get caught up on things. And I don't want to say relax because there was no relaxing, but it's always nice to feel like you're getting caught up versus falling behind.
yeah, it's like going fishing when the yard's like 10 inches tall.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
always thinking about what you
yeah.
should have been doing,
And
or
then
what.
you're probably not catching them because you're not thinking about fishing at that
Exactly.
point.
You're
Yeah,
sending bad juju down the line.
exactly.
I'm gonna go. I've never been to. I haven't
Really?
been to no. I haven't been to ICAST. I haven't been to Classic, and I got,
Oh wow.
man. I've got invitations. It's just I just don't. And then like I'm sitting here looking at all the video content that comes out of there, and I'm seeing all the people that are down there and all the pictures, and I'm like, why didn't I not go down there? It'd be cool to
Yeah.
hang out with people that I've
So
had on the live stream, and then people that I've messaged with, and all that.
they're two completely different beasts. Like I really like them both. I mean the classic is uh the excitement level is real. Like you're there, you've got all of, everyone is there. All the fans of the sport, all of the like everyone is there. So there's an excitement level. The Not that this is a bad thing, but like you can't go anywhere, right? Like if I wanted to go from like when we had core tackle booths, go from there to another booth, like I'm gonna end up stopping, and it's gonna take me 2 hours to get
Oh,
there.
because there's so many
I'm
people you're
just
talking to.
Yeah, I'm just talking to, there's, other anglers over here. Here's
Yeah.
somebody who wants to say hi. Here's a company I want to talk to. Like, it's just insane. iCast is like weird because you take away all the craziness and it's just like industry people for the most part. So it's like there's not the aisles are, I don't want to say empty, but it's not like you have to like go shoulder to shoulder with people. I mean, you're just walking around and it's like, oh wait, here's, so and so I haven't talked to in a while, and you talk to an old buddy, and it's way low key, much more. I don't know if business is the right word, but it's much more like we're here to have a good time,
Yeah.
and like a low key kind of relaxed atmosphere. The
Yeah. Laid
classics,
back.
like we're here to party. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like
Yeah.
kind of a different thing. But I always said I was not going to go to a classic until I qualified for it, and then 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, I probably should go. It's probably a good thing career move wise. And now it's like I want to go every year. I didn't go again this year. Like we had some family functions that interfered with dates, but it's like it's the Super Bowl of the sport we love. And from that standpoint, I think all anglers would love it. ICAST is just a different feel where it's like, yeah, we're here to have it. You know, it's the industry feel to it. You know, like you work the trade show, but the trade show at the end of the day has happy hour. You know, so everywhere you go, you know, there's beers to be had. And then you go to dinner with a couple of companies, and then you go to Top Golf, right? Like it's a different type of feel, but I enjoy it all.
Yeah, I got
You
it.
should go. You would have a good time.
I got
You'd
to
have
do
a
it,
very good
man.
time.
I know. I can just feel. I just seeing the buzz. I'm like, yeah, I would love to go down there and just kind of rub elbows and mingle and make a week of it.
Yeah.
So I got to do it. So much to do, so little time.
I hear you. We only got 76 summers.
Exactly. We've already burned through some of them. There's a couple questions. I don't know. Okay, here's one. This definitely relates to shallow fishing. And we've probably talked about this, but what's your thoughts on sonar pinging affecting the fish? Is that something that
I
you
mean,
make sure you've got your stuff turned off when you're up shallow, or do you think it really matters?
if I can turn it off, I'd turn it off.
Yeah.
So when like the forward facing sonar thing first came off, like there were people that were like, oh well, the fish can feel it. And I was like, I don't know that I believe. Like, how can they feel it? Well, I happened to be up north. I was with my family, and we went from fishing to swimming in the water. And I had left my trolling motor on, and it was in the water, and I swam past like 20 feet past in front of it, and I could hear the dang thing clicking.
Huh.
Like, and if you got out of the beam, like direct beam, it would dissipate, the further you got away. So I like my own personal experience tells me I don't know why they wouldn't be able to pick that up. I mean, that clicking sound has got to be, I would think there's some sort of vibration in the water too from that. Like,
Mhm.
maybe I'm wrong, but and if there's any sort of vibration, I would think the fish would be able to pick that up to a point. Like, and I'm not saying that necessarily scares them or they move away from it, but I think again it relates. If you made me choose a side, couldn't the fish pick that sound up or that feel up? I would say, yeah, I would be surprised if they wouldn't. If they relate it to potential danger, that's a little bit further away, and would it surprise me? No, but I don't know that, I haven't seen the correlation, right? And this is one of those things where man, if I were back in college and I was in fisheries, like when I started college, I went for freshwater marine biology. These would be like the thesis papers I would love to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
just from a selfish fisherman standpoint, I would love to see some of these tests and see how the fish do respond to it. But having said that, I don't know that the fish would respond any different to that than they would be if you went over them with 2D. I mean, because you're basically pinging them that way too. So I would argue that yes, they probably can pick that up. I would say if you're on a very pressured body of water, they probably do relate that somewhat. A lot of the people, my buddies I talk to are saying, yeah, it seems like, I used to catch them all at 40 feet out. Now I got to hit them at 80 feet out. And is that because at 40 feet, they really could pick up that signal, and at 80, they don't pick it up nearly as much? I don't know. But I mean, I gotta think that lateral line, dude, is strong.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
they can sense a lot of stuff. So I would say yes, they have some sort of correlation there.
I can hear it. I can hear it significantly louder in my tin boat versus my glass boat too. The like pinging of the transducer,
Yeah.
It picks it up stronger. Just like a rattle trap, when you're reeling in a rattle trap in your tin boat, it like vibrates the boat a lot more than it does with your glass boat.
Yeah.
But I would think that, so like Lake of the Ozarks, there's always people out there splashing around the water, walking on the docks, getting in their boats
Yeah.
and firing them up. There's lifts going up and down, and there's a lot more water noise going on.
Yeah.
So I don't think those fish maybe are as sensitive to, noise as much as, say you're out on a lake that doesn't have all that going on. They may that so there's a couple different ways to take this, but they may notice the pinging and any kind of noise that's not natural more so than those fish that are on a lake that has a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
But then it's going to take them a while probably to correlate that noise with some kind of adverse effect, or some negative feedback. I think if they hear the ping and they get hooked, they're going to eventually, over time, they're going to have some sort of aversion to that. But then what if there's 100 boats on a 50-acre lake all the time and everything's pinging all the time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What if everyone's pinging bait? Is it a way for the bass to go, there's a bait ball over here, so I better go, over there? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I have had some days on the water where without the boat traffic, I would not have caught the fish. I mean, there was one tournament I had on Pickwick Lake where, I mean, I basically set up camp out in front of a boat ramp, and every time a boat came through those buoys, I could cast in the prop wash 10 feet behind the motor, I would get bit. If I didn't, if it was the next 20 minutes before another boat went through, I wouldn't catch a fish. Next boat would go through, throw in the prop wash, I'd catch a fish. And that was because every time they'd stir the bait up that was sitting there, and the bass were feeding on that. And I mean, the first couple times it happened, you're like, is this really happening? By the 13th or 14th boat in a row, like, those are the only fish I've caught is that first cast. It's like, yeah, this is a thing, and it's because the fish are utilizing that prop wash to their advantage. I mean, in that case, it's not pinging, but they absolutely know that when that boat's coming, they better set up shop and get ready to feed. So, yeah, I think it could go both ways. I mean, like you said, if you're on a little lake and every you know, I've been on plenty of lakes where there's 20 boats fishing around in one creek arm. I mean, you probably hear that pinging coming from every direction. Does that mean they're just not going to feed? No, I would argue it probably means they're just going to ignore that sound at some point and just go back to doing whatever they were doing.
Yeah, I was fishing with a dude on this lake, and we got to he had a lot of history on Kentucky Lake, and he was talking about the ledge fishing, like, back like 20-30 years ago, when it was really, really good. And he mentioned, like, there's sometimes when it's like slick calm, they're really not pulling any current, and the bite would just die on the ledges. And he would fire up the boat, and they'd make like loops around where they thought the schools of bass were, and they just stir everything up for a little bit and then set the boat down, and then they would get a couple bites, just kind of mixing it up. And I mean, wave action, it like hits the riprap and hits the weeds, and it like kind of breaks loose. You got to think it does something to, shad and the crawfish and all that. So,
I mean, dude, there's I don't know if this is a big deal down south, but up in my neck of the woods, there's a lot of discussion regarding wake boats and the damage that wake boats do. We've got a lot smaller lakes here, and there's a lot of erosion aspects. And there was a study that University of Wisconsin did that showed the effects of like a wake boat going by at different depths. And it, I don't have the specific details, but it basically showed like a wake boat in 10 feet of water. And then it showed, so they had a camera on the bottom of the ground, wake boat would go over the top, and they'd show how disturbed the bottom would get. And like in 10 feet of water, it was like, I mean, it looked like, somebody came and dug a 3-foot trench in the soil, right? Like just completely blacked out the camera. At 15 feet, 20 feet, I think it went all the way down to like 30 feet before they did not see bottom disturbance from that wake boat. So, if you're talking about a boat of any size going over 10 foot of water, you're probably stirring up that bottom. And, when you stir that bottom up, you got to assume that's going to get, some crayfish moving around or some minnows moving around, and, creates a feeding opportunity for the fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a tournament. We were fishing the Ohio River and out of Galconda, and these creeks are all like they got a channel and then they got stump flats on both sides.
Yeah.
And my partner got his jig hung up on one of these stumps, and these flats are like 3 feet. You know, they're really shallow. And he goes in there and gets his jig. He's poking it, and gets it loose. And he turns around the trolling motor and just shoots out of the flat. And there's this big wad of silt that just comes up.
Yeah.
And I was just fishing, you know, and I threw my jig over there and I caught like a 4-pounder. It was in that silt.
Yeah.
That was like, you know, our big fish for the tournament. But I never would have thought that, you know, that fish would have been probably like 7 or 8 feet away from the boat in that prop wash.
Dude, I mean, the muskies up here, a lot of guys, when they troll for muskies, they troll literally 15, 20 feet, you know, like literally in the prop wash of the boat. And I mean, whether the muskies are using the prop, I don't know if the muskies are using the prop wash to feed or the muskies are looking at the propeller going, that looks like a big bucktail. I want to eat it. I don't know offhand, but I mean, they're really catching the fish like right behind the boat. I mean, they pull right in behind the boat looking at that motor.
Yeah, the barge. He's talking about the barge by. It's the same thing with like a lock. You know, the lock opens up. There's a influx of water, and it turns them on for a little bit. Yeah, there's something to it. There's one more question. Okay, so this guy says he's been a co-angler for 3 years now, and he's zeroed every time, no matter who I draw. Of course, he only fishes a couple times a year. How do I keep confidence when this keeps happening?
I'll let you take this one.
Well, I've done my fair share of co-angling. When I have a bad tournament, I will go. Of course, you got to fish more than a couple times a year. I would say that's probably a good place to start. Is go as much as you can. You know, you don't have to fish a tournament just to go fishing. Go as much as you can. Learn, pick out a few baits, and get some confidence in them. You know, spend some time with a jig. Spend some time with a Texas rigged worm. Spend some time with a chatterbait. A chatterbait's probably one of the best baits, moving baits. Get some confidence in a few baits, and that way, you know, you always have something tied on that you've caught fish on, and you've got some positive feedback. But you're going to have to go more than just a couple times a year. But if I have a bad tournament, I will try to get out on a body of water as soon as possible that I feel confident in and catch some fish. That kind of sometimes that gets me out of that negative mindset that I have. I remember I fished a regional down at Chickamauga, and I sucked. I sucked it up. You know, I had an okay practice, but as soon as I got back, the very next day, I hooked up my John boat and I went to this little local lake, and I caught like 10 or 12 fish, and then I felt like I knew how to fish again. You know, the whole way home from Chickamauga, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm selling all my stuff. As soon as I get home, I got to, you know, I'm going back to like a Zebco 202, and we're throwing string, you know, 10-pound blue. I'm like, I'm overthinking this. I can't do it. You know, you're carrying all the way home. You're really hard on yourself, but go back out and get back out on the water, hook a few fish, get some confidence back, because if you fish enough, you're going to have bad days. That's just the way it is. The fish are not always biting. And the best way to get over that stuff is fish through it, come out on the other side. But definitely practice, get out on the water as much as possible, and you'll get some. And then as you're doing that stuff, if you get some confidence in a few different techniques, a few different baits, you'll start to see the different scenarios where you can choose between those baits. You know, it's slick, calm conditions. You got shallow wood. Well, the chatterbait may not work. You're going to get confidence in a jig or something Texas rig. But if some clouds come in and the wind picks up, you know, you can put that jig away, put that Texas rig away, and start throwing that chatterbait. So you'll start to develop, you know, certain environmental conditions that are conducive to whatever bait that is, and you'll get confidence the more you do that. So that would be my suggestion on that. Matt, what you got?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I mean, I would recommend grabbing, one of three baits, a drop shot, a wacky rig, a Ned rig, a small swim bait, something along those lines, and not really worry too much about what the other guy in the boat's doing, and really just try to hone in on those, really well known fish catching baits that are going to put some fish in the boat for you. And I feel it's easy to say don't think about not catching fish, right? Like in previous bad performances. But the reality is, like, every tournament is a new day anyway. So, like, just because you didn't catch them in the previous couple tournaments doesn't mean you can't catch them that day. So I would honestly, one of the best things that I do if I know I'm feeling like mentally not as focused, or I feel I'm frustrated, I really try to envision myself just fun fishing that day. Like, I'm just out having a good time. This is what I love to do. I'm not worried about the tournament. Even if I'm in the tournament, I try to approach it as if it's just a fun fishing day. And I feel like if you go into it with that positive attitude, I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to learn. From a co-angler standpoint, I really think that's one of the most important things is, hey, I'm here to learn. Like, I would love to catch fish and have a good tournament too, but maybe I can pick up on a couple of things to do or not to do, based on what the boater or pro is doing, and utilize that as a learning experience to try to get better. I mean, the fish will come. Like, I really do think that the bites will come. You just got to have a positive attitude, and I would, start with a handful of baits and really try to capitalize on those first.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Those are like a Ned rig. If you just keep a Ned rig in your hand long enough, you're going to catch some fish. And then one more thing that I've seen people do, as I fished out of the front of the boat this year. I've seen some people do this, and I've noticed other guy I've heard talking to boaters. I've heard them talking about their co-anglers doing this. Is changing baits like all the time. Um, and this goes back to if you're spending some time on the water and you develop some confidence in a few certain baits, whatever they are, you won't be as inclined to keep changing baits and trying to find that magic bait, because each time you're changing, obviously your bait's not wet, so that's the opportunity that you're missing out. And then you have to get confidence in that new bait over and over, and you're looking for this magic bait. And a lot of times it's just, most of the times you're going to catch fish on what you got a lot of confidence in, not trying to tie on something,
And
never caught fish on, or it's like somebody at the dock told you this is what they're biting on, but you've never caught a fish on it.
yeah,
That's a bad thing to get caught up in.
and I would add with that too, like the idea of changing baits. I think generally speaking, that I think that's misused in terms of, like, you'll have guys that are like throwing a chigger craw and they're like, man, it's not working. I got to change baits. And they'll put on like a pack of craw, right? Or something that's
Right. Yeah.
really similar. And it's like, I personally don't think that's the way to go about it. I think you generally have what I would consider more of your moving bait or a finesse bait. And it's like, if I'm not catching them, on the chatterbait, maybe I should try dragging something or fishing something slower. That, for me at least, when I'm talking about changing baits, it's generally a complete flip-flop in
Yeah.
presentation versus like, oh, unless I really feel good about a lure that I'm catching them on and I'm trying to refine that. So maybe I'm trying different colors or different sizes of that bait. But generally speaking, I think most people, when they hear changing baits, they just think, oh, I'm going to try a different similar technique, a different bait within that. I think generally you should try to really go to a complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I've seen some days where you're throwing a green pumpkin jig, not getting much feedback, and you go to a black and blue and you start getting some bites. But it's not like,
it's not a huge change. That's like it's refining the technique more than it is like,
right.
like I guess the way I would look at it is if you're not getting any bites on, you know, what a Carolina rig, maybe you should go to, you know, a crankbait, right? Or something that is much more reactionary than it is finesse, and try to trigger those fish. You know, maybe the fish are there, they're just not actively feeding. So now you need to fish them you need to generate the bite. You need to force them to actually bite your bait. And, you know, to me, like a power fishing technique is a good way to do that. I think it's just simply like trying different lures and baits is great, but if you're not having success and you're staying within the same technique with just a different bait, you're probably not moving outside of the realm enough to really determine whether or not there are fish in that area.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I guess I was like, I fished with Terry Bolton one time, and he was talking about a tournament. He was really trying to figure out what they were biting on, and he was fishing this like 100-yard stretch, and he started with one bait, and by the time he got to the end of that 100-yard stretch, he'd changed like 10 baits, and he never really gave that one bait time to actually work. So he didn't really know if it would have worked or not. And I guess that's what I was getting at. It's like sometimes I've seen guys that'll throw a bait, like they'll make 20 casts with a bait, then they cut it off. You almost got to go through a few different areas with a few different kind of cover scenarios.
You got to fish it enough. And I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, instead of switching, like you're saying, don't switch 10 times. You really only need to switch once or twice.
Yeah.
Like if you're not getting bit on a finesse bait or a reactionary style bait, you're probably better off finding a new area than trying to either force those fish in that area into biting or trying to get a bite from an area that doesn't have that many fish to begin with.
Or throwing an urchin. Just turn around and throw an urchin.
Or just throw an urchin.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the
what is your take on those?
I have had
Are you a big fan?
I am now. So I got some last fall, right? I got some of the Yamamoto unis, and it was the water was kind of cold already, and I threw them a little bit. I mean, it took me a little bit to figure out what the heck it was, because I just put a hook in it and it just sat on top of the water. I'm like, well, this isn't gonna work. So then I tried to get a nail weight through it, and it was like it took me 10 minutes to try to get a nail weight through it. I'm like, okay. So I stuck it on a drop shot, and I had some fish kind of come up and look at it, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I picked up a minnow, started shaking the minnow, and started catching them. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna mess with this. Maybe the water's too cold. They don't bite it in cold water. Well, this year I started playing around with it a lot more, and I've had some pretty good days on it. I don't know why, but I do know that there are times when they'll pass up a minnow and they'll hit that stupid urchin bait for whatever reason. And I've got a couple ways that I like to fish it now. I got a couple different sizes and colors that I got confidence in, and it skips phenomenal. That's the thing that kind of shocked me. I was looking at there's all this surface area and all these tentacles, and I thought it would just kind of like grab the water and stop, but it doesn't. It for some reason, I guess everything just kind of folds back with the momentum, and it just skips really well. But I saw some of your some of your videos from Kentucky Lake, and you caught them pretty good on an urchin down there.
Oh, dude, I'm a big fan of the urchins at this point. I've had it just they hit it different. Like there's like a meanness to when they bite it, and I don't fully understand. I still think it has more to do with how we're working the bait versus the bait itself. Like I don't know that the actual design of the bait is the key. I think it's the function of the bait. So, we're for the most part you work it somewhat like a jerk bait, right? You're giving it good hard twitches, and I truly believe that it's not the shape, but it's you snap the rod, and that bait, when you take the pressure off the snap, that bait just goes thump, and it just sits there, right? And to me, that's a very natural movement for a lot of the bait fish in the water. You watch a bluegill swim. I mean, they can be like, right? I mean, they just come to a complete stop, and you're like, how the heck, I don't even understand how that happens. But I don't really know of any other baits that do that come to that quick of like a just this complete hover. And whether the fish love that quick movement or whether the fish are tracking it and the bait stops right in front of their face and they go, either I got to eat it or I got to veer away. And if I veer away, that kind of shows weakness, right? And fish don't want to show weakness in that case. So maybe they eat it out of that. I don't know. I don't know that I honestly care why they eat it. I just know that they eat it. And, I'm kind of similar to like what you said. I've had them for years. But it wasn't really until last August I fished a Bassmaster Open on Leech Lake, and I knew guys were catching them on like the tumbleweed, the little sized ones on drop shots, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it a try, and I caught a lot of fish doing it, and came away from that going, I really need to spend more time with these. So after that tournament in August, I bought, well, basically everything that was on the market at that time, which was a handful. You had the Koike, you had the Uni, and there were a few out there like the G Crack, the Q bomb, I think.
Yeah.
And I just started playing around with it and really having a lot of success. And it wasn't, most of that success wasn't even forward facing sonar related. So much so that, we being Johnny Schultz and I with Core Tackles started making the first phase of our dice rig and testing it. And I mean, I kind of fell in love with it, and then we froze over, but I went into the season going, man, I'm going to really fish this a lot in my tournaments. And we went to Sam Rayburn in February, but the two major tournaments before that both were one on a urchin, and it was like all of a sudden the secret, not that it was a secret, but it wasn't nearly as popular as it was. And I was like, man, I need to really use this. And I mean, I've caught over half the fish I've caught on the Bass Opens this year have been on that hook with either a Koike or a Berkeley Meba.
I like that hook a lot, dude. I mean, I bought some at Fast Eddie's down in Kentucky Lake, and I took it out, and I sent you a text. I was like, dude, this hook, it's pretty sick, man, because it's well, it's a good hook. Just the actual hook itself is a really good hook, and then the way those prongs hold the urchin, it's
wild, dude.
Just locks it in.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a really good system. I mean, I highly recommend if somebody's watching this and they're like wanting to try some urchins, this is one of the, try some other hooks too, but definitely try this one because it does a really good job.
I mean, there's so many different ways to rig them right now that there's just a lot of different ways to fish them. So I mean, that rigging is easy, great, very good rigging, but I understand too that there's other ways that guys want to fish them for different types of things, that hook's not the perfect setup. But it's just been a really good hook for me and Johnny, who designed it. I mean, my biggest regret with that hook is we didn't come out with it in December or anywhere between December and January, which is when we could have. And we made one final change to it, and then that pushed it back to like April. So we missed some of the craze that was started from the first tournaments. But I mean, honestly, we can't keep them in stock as it is already. So it's a good issue to have. But I'm just, man, I'm eating up with it. Like I really am. Like there's something. I think part of the reason I love the technique so much is because I don't fully understand it, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to figure out if it truly is the design of the baits or the movement. And I also really like the fact that I think I just feel like it's going to open doors for design. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff now because I mean, to see what this has done, and I know there's people out there who want to be like, it's a fad or it's a trend. Well, I feel like half the professional tournaments have been won on it this year, forward-facing sonar or not.
Mhm.
That's not a trend at that point. That is creating an established technique that will be around for a while. Whether we see it stay as a ball form or maybe we see different forms come out of it is yet to be remained. But I just feel like from a design standpoint, it really opened up the door to see some crazy stuff. And I think we're probably going to see some crazy stuff coming because of it. And I think that's cool. Some of it may just be ridiculous and not work, but maybe it leads to some better baits down the road.
Oh, I think there's going to be some. I mean, you just as a bait design, if you try to think like a bait designer, each one of those appendages has an opportunity to have
Oh yeah.
the multiple curly tails, cut
Yeah.
tails, you name it. There's like a plethora of ideals that can be implemented into that bait, and I think it's here to stay for a while too. I really do, just because of that action. So have you noticed that certain colors work better than others? Because for me, I've tried probably like 5 or 6 different colors. I fished them enough to where I feel like, I gave them a fair shake. But to me, it's like the green pumpkin, and then like the, black or blue, darker ones
Yeah.
that work best for me. Like, what have you found?
Yeah, I've had the majority of I would say similar. Like I think any of your green pumpkins have been really good. I'm a big fan of the why am I
Scuppernong?
drawing? Yeah, the Scuppernong,
Yeah.
thank you. Like that kind of that oxblood color has been really good for me. I have had a couple of days that were really good with like I mean, I don't know the exact color, but it's like a smoke with like a silver flake and
Yeah.
kind of I've done well on those too, but I mean at this point like I can't say I play around with that much color. I don't have that much color to be honest with you. Most of the stuff I have at this point are pretty natural colored, a green, cinnamon, smokes, scuppernong, like those are all kind of the same. Black and blue I've had some luck on.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah, I can't say I do have a couple that are real bright fluorescent colored. I can't say I've done that well on those, but doesn't mean they won't be good.
It does take some patience to fish that thing, especially down deep,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And then wind can be an issue too. So, but man, yeah, I've had some really good days, like you're talking about, just going down the bank, throwing at the weed line, the grass line, and
Yeah, I will say I don't. It's weird. The one thing that has been, at least for me, that's kind of odd. I feel like there's lakes they love it, and there are lakes that it's not that easy to get a bite. And
yeah,
I don't know. Again, that could be a forage thing. I feel very confident in saying that like the shad eating lakes are really good for the most part, but I've definitely had some lakes that are much more bluegill orientated that don't seem to produce as well. And I don't
really,
know. Yeah, and I'm not saying it doesn't. I have some bluegill lakes that are, bluegill's the only forage and it works great. But I have had some northern lakes that didn't perform as well. And, maybe that was just the day. I don't know. Like, but it,
do you
I've
think the
had
more
some.
pressured a lake is, maybe the more that bait will work because they've seen so much other stuff that it's, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, the lakes, some of the lakes I've had bad days on, though, I would think those fish have never seen one before. It's, I mean, I would like to think that the lakes that are really pressured, those are the fish that have seen it already. But it seems like some of those, like, I think Kentucky Lake, they love it there.
mhm.
Uh, man, the Rayburn, I mean, dude, it was like every fish I threw at, I caught. I was catching 50 fish a day in that tournament. And I half the field was throwing it. So I got to think by now everyone is throwing it, but it still seems like they're eating it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I don't know. There is part of me that thinks it could have some similarities to like the umbrella rig, which is that bait ball effect, where I think that entices uh fish better than an individual bait fish profile, just because the fish are looking at it as their opportunity to get a bigger meal. And I do think there is some potential, chance that the fish are looking at it as a bait ball, in which case that would trigger better than average fish. That would trigger more aggressive strikes out of the fish. And that makes sense to me that they could see it that way.
Do you think that I lost my train of thought. Totally lost my train of thought. Had a really good question there.
You're getting old. You're getting old.
It was there, man. It was there, but I was just listening to you, looking at all these comments.
Sorry, I was bad. I was just babbling.
No, that was perfect. And I'm trying to like gather that question again in my head, but it is completely gone. I did see like some of the baits. I think it was Spro or something had some that had the tips of the tentacles were different colors. Like black with the chartreuse on the tip.
I know what
I was going to ask you. Let me throw it out there before I forget.
Yeah, before you forget.
Yeah, I got like 2 seconds to remember this. Have you fished it any other way besides the core tackle dice rig or whatever? I mean, if you put it on like a Carolina rig, drop.
Yeah,
what ways have you fished it?
Man, I've messed around in a few ways. I've had success at this point, pretty much every way I've fished it.
Really?
I can't, but but when I say success, I've caught fish doing it. I can't say I've got like to me, it really is like the wacky rig / jerk bait presentation. Like, and like you said, you got to have patience in some situations. Like I was out the other day fishing deep weed lines with it, and it was it took a while to fish it. I caught a lot of fish doing it, but it was, you could easily have fished over the top of those fish if you weren't willing to let the bait fall, right?
Yeah.
I don't think had I put it on a Carolina rig and fished that outside weed line, I probably would have caught the same fish. I think I've caught fish fishing on a Carolina rig. I can't say I love that. I've caught fish fishing on a drop shot. I can't say I love that either, unless we're talking the little ones. I do like the little, like you can get the 13 mil koiki, you can get the tumbleweeds. Like I've done well on those in the smaller profiles on drop shots. But to me, it really is more about that snap action. And the other presentations I found are not nearly as good with respect to that. So, I think guys are catching them doing other things, but I don't think it's quite the same way.
Yeah. I was wondering about that.
Have you?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've thrown it on a drop shot a little bit, but I'm thinking of the different ways you can fish it, but it'd be more just kind of like a novelty, because I think what you're talking about is got to be the most effective way.
I mean, I think I can tell you a lot of the people that I've run into that have been like, man, I haven't caught much on it. When I ask them how they're fishing it, they're like, well, I'm fishing it kind of like a jig. And like much slower, like throwing it into the cover and kind of just working it like through the cover like you would a jig or a Texas rig. And they're not having success doing that. And I just think that goes back to, you're not utilizing that bait. I don't want to say correctly. You're not utilizing the strengths of that bait, which is the ability for it to fold up and then go brung, right?
Yeah,
and come to a complete stop. So if you're slow working it, you can get them to kind of walk right over like the bottom, right? Like, because they're buoyant in the first place and have the tentacles to kind of stay up over the bottom. But if you're not really taking advantage of that fast movement, I personally have not had that much success.
Yeah, I mean, the Carolina rig deal was something I was going to play around with next, just because of the floating aspects of the bait. It's going to float it up off the bottom or whatever. But I haven't really messed with it, so I don't know. And then the top water, originally that's what it was designed to be, fished on top.
I have had more luck with it on a top water, fishing it basically, weightless and just keeping it up on the surface, because I do know that's what the koiki was developed for, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes you think, what the heck else is out there that we could find?
Yeah,
Can you imagine if that was, designed 20 years ago and then discontinued like 10 years ago, how much they'd be selling for, the few that are out there.
Oh yeah, like if they just out of production.
Yeah, all of a sudden somebody uncovered it and then we're buying them up on eBay. I mean, they'd be like $1,000 each.
I mean,
It's already ridiculous.
I can't believe people pay 150 or whatever. I mean, it's going away because everybody's making them now, but
yeah,
that's insane.
People will spend if they think. I mean, that's how crazy our sport is. If we think it's going to help us catch 1 or 2 extra fish, people are willing to pay it sometimes.
Yeah, that confidence thing.
Yeah.
So what's up with the core tackle? You guys are. I mean, I know you had the big move. You're constantly
had the big move. We man, I mean, it's been busy at Core Tackle. We launched the dice rig, and the dice rig has been. I mean, we
been
can't
killing
keep it in stock. I mean, it's been selling great, and we've gotten amazing feedback on it. People love it, so I'm all for that. But I mean, we're doing a weedless version for it. We've got a couple other dice rig things that we're working on. We started what we call our Core Tackle Insider program, which is it's a monthly subscription where we send you unreleased product to get your feedback. So we're providing, so it's $29.99 a month, but we send basically $40 or $50 worth of product, and then we've got a bunch of feedback forms and forums and live streams to get feedback on those baits. And if the feedback is positive, we come to market with it. And we're in month 4 is rolling out in a couple weeks. Overall feedback's been amazing. People, the insiders that are involved are really enjoying it. We basically have been doing, I mean, we're doing everything from hard baits to soft baits to wire baits, all different stuff. So I think people have always known us as a terminal tackle company, but we have so many ideas outside of that we're looking forward to hopefully, rolling some of these out, like the fin swim bait or the hover minnow. We had the sled jig came out. So that's a monthly thing. That's a ton of time of mine as well as my wife's, because we're the ones handling that and rolling, like actually doing the shipping for that. But the hope is, again, that the products test well and we'll roll those out. So it's a really good way to continue to innovate and develop new products and push out a bunch of stuff. So we're really investing hard into Core Tackle. I mean, that's where the majority of both Johnny Schultz and my time is going at this point.
Did you ever think that, when you started this like a couple years ago? Because I remember, this isn't the
we've
first
done
time
a bunch of
we've
these
been
at
on
this
here.
point.
Yeah, but it was like, it was just kind of like something that was starting to happen.
Dude,
no, and an academy and like everywhere you go, it's like Core Tackle.
I think that's honestly, I think that's why it's been successful, because we did not start it with the idea that we were going to create a tackle company. Yeah. We started with the idea that, I mean, so Johnny's got Fish the Moment, which is a big YouTube fishing channel, and I've got my channel, and we were like, I mean, I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. I mean, we literally were talking on the phone about designing what is our tush jig head. We were like, man, we both want an internal weighted swim bait.
That was the first one.
That was the first one we actually designed. It wasn't the first one we released, because while we were testing the tush, I designed the hover rig, which was, to solve the whole issue of a nail weight flying out every time you caught a fish fishing, doing the hover strolling technique.
Yeah, right.
And we liked that one so much as well. We were like, let's roll that one out first, because we had 1 or 2 changes we were making on the tush. So we actually rolled the hover rig out first, even though the tush is really what started the discussion. But there was never any idea of making a company. It was really, let's produce some, sell some, and then basically we get to make the bait we want to make. Maybe we make a little bit of side cash.
Yeah.
And the reception was so great right off the bat with the hover rig that we were like, man, maybe we got more to this, and we've got a bunch of ideas. And I mean, we just basically rolled one product out, took, the proceeds from that, rolled the next product out, took the proceeds from that, rolled the next product out, and we've been able to, grow it into a whole bunch of different products at this point. And I mean, because I mean, it's up until now, it's really been more of a side gig, right? Like we weren't taking, because we had other jobs, we didn't need to take the money out. We could roll the proceeds back into growing core tackle. And because that we did that approach, I think that really helped us grow. If we were doing it to make an income and taking the money out to pay our bills, at that
Yeah.
point, it would have really hampered the growth of it. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's shocking for me to think, that I've got a stake in a tackle company at this point. And I know it's still relatively small with respect to everything that's out there, but I really feel like we're, on a good growth plan. And we've got so many good ideas that, like, I'm excited to roll out through the insider program. And the feedback we've had so far has been, really positive. And it's not necessarily just positive in terms of the baits we sent, but the feedback in terms of minor changes we can make, or, little adjustments to make the baits even better. Like that's the stuff that's really beneficial. And at the same time, I feel like it's creating a good core tackle community, in terms of bait testers. And
Yeah.
I'm the one that responds to the emails we get through the website. So like every day I'm getting emails. I caught a new PB today, on the hover rig or the Ozark rig, or I
Yeah.
caught this and that. And it's just it is a cool ass feeling to help people catch fish. And I totally recognize a lot of the products we put out are not made for everybody, right? I mean, there's some specialty aspect to them, and it doesn't fit everyone's fishing needs. But I also feel like, we're trying to create products that solve some issues or help people in one way. And from that standpoint, we're totally cool with that. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know where this is gonna go, dude. I really don't. Like, you know, it like I at this point I have these kind of grand envisions of, down the road what it could look like. And it's like, man, I've built my own rods for the last 12 years. Like I would love to, and I get a lot of people that want me to build rods. Like maybe I'll start doing rods one day. I don't know, but Johnny has always wanted to do this pair of water shoes that he likes. And it's like, maybe we'll just branch out everywhere. I mean, there's nothing, we're the owners. We can do what we want with it. Maybe we'll come out with dog food. I don't know, but it's
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 innovative.
cool.
That's the thing I like about it is it's innovative. It's like, okay, so like this Ozark rig. There's some companies that would look at that and be like, we're not going to invest in that because it doesn't catch enough eyeballs. It's just something that's going to sit on the shelf. It's going to end up in the clearance bin. And next thing you know, we're going to be out however many thousands of dollars in marketing and whatever. But, and that's some of this stuff. Like when I saw this, I'm like, I don't even get that. And then, good thing about, you and Johnny is you've got successful YouTube channels. So you can you can show people how to rig this stuff and how to apply it to your fishing trips and stuff.
And dude, it looks so dumb. And that's
but
one of my favorite
really cool
products.
bait,
But
really cool design.
It's like if you fish it on like a creature or a beaver style bait, you get really good gliding motion out of it. You get a different flipping bait, if that's what you want to, call it. But if you put a worm on it on the fall, the dang thing goes like this on the fall. And it's like a completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, like that, in a way that was somewhat accidental, like the making of that bait, but it's our willingness to try to create new things that really has been kind of the secret sauce. I don't need to create a round ball jig head. Everyone else has a round ball jig head. I'll let them create the round ball jig heads. But if there's something that we think we can do that'll be innovative and have a function to it that solves the problem, like heck yeah, let's do it. I mean, that's the scamper rig. That was, the blueback herring guys have been fishing flukes really fast, and they've been wire wrapping hooks to get them to stay down a little bit because they're fishing them so fast they blow out of the water. And Matt Becker, who I was rooming with on the BPT, he's like, dude, he goes, he showed me the hook that he won, what was it, the 2021 or 2022 Lake Murray event on, and it was a wire wrapped hook. He's like, I'd love to make a version of this. And, we went back and forth on designs, and now we got the scamper rig, and guys are crushing blueback herring. I mean, all over the place. Like, that's one of our top sellers. And it's a simple design, but it's really functionable.
Yeah, that's one that I haven't tried yet, but I've seen what it does. As far as the action that it gives it
just gives it a hard, tight vibration. It's wild.
Yeah, and then like I was trying to pull up this.
I like this. I like it. It's shameless core tackle plugs.
Yeah, man, it's cool stuff, dude. I like it. And I've tried like this. That's like that's a weird looking thing. It almost looks like something from outer space, kind of. It's just got a lot going on there, but it's all like functional. There's like a scenario, a problem, a situation, and then you guys get together and you come up with like that thing. And it.
Well, and the cool thing with a lot of the baits too that we've designed, because they are different for the most part, we design them for how we would want to fish them. And I think a lot of times people see them and they're like, man, I don't even know what that's for. And they start playing around with different ways to use them. And then all of a sudden they figure something out and they reach out to us and they're like, man, have you tried, whatever product with this bait, fishing it backwards? And it's what? Like, no, but and then I go do it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. Like, it's just, I guess I could come out with an EWG hook, but everyone's got an EWG hook. Everyone knows how to fish that already. I don't feel like I could make a better EWG hook at this point. So it's like, I'm not interested in that. I would rather continue to kind of stay in our lane doing our own thing and not worry about what everyone else does.
Well, let's give away a $25 Baitworks gift card, and they do have some core tackle stuff. So if you win the gift card, you can use that to use some core tackle stuff. If you guys want to get involved in the giveaway, just hashtag.
Last time I did a giveaway too. So if you want to pick, I don't remember how you did it. You picked 2 comments or something.
Yeah, that's cool. I forgot about that.
I'll do another core tackle one too.
Okay, so the first giveaway will be for an actual core tackle package from Matt, and we'll let that run for. I'll let that run for a little bit and see what happens. So I wanted to touch on Kentucky Lake. I watched all your footage from Kentucky Lake, and how did you? So did you go out of Paris? Like, the area you were fishing a lot of shallow stuff. I think you kind of split. You spent a lot of your time. Was that like Paris area, south?
So I fished south of Paris. I'm trying to think what's the next well, like the old bridge.
That's Danville.
Danville. Yeah. So I was basically fished between Paris and that section. I did go up and fish all the way up the Kentucky Lake Village or Dam Village or whatever, all the way up at the top end too. The first day I split my time down south and then up north. And the second day I stayed south.
Okay. Didn't you spend some time on Barkley too or not?
No,
you never.
I would have loved to. I heard the Barkley bite was pretty good, but I did not. I've never fished Barkley. I've never been on it.
Huh. Yeah, it's I haven't fished it a whole bunch, but man, there's a lot to fish. I mean, there's a lot of shallow cover compared to Kentucky Lake. It's a completely different lake.
Yeah, it's kind of to go. I mean, I'm not afraid of making long runs, but I mean, it's a long run to go from Paris up through the canal, and then if you, I mean, depending where you want to fish on Barkley, although they did, I'm trying to remember, they did limit us, I believe, to just the Kentucky portion of Barkley. I'd have to go back. I didn't pay that much attention to it because I knew I wasn't going over there. But yeah, there will be a time where the house we rented was right. What's that town? What is right across from, like, you go over the Paris Bridge?
Dover.
Dover. Yeah, we had
Arcades.
a
No,
no, it
Dover.
was
Dover.
Dover. We had a house right there, and it was like every day I kind of drove by you can see like part of Barkley right there, and I was like, man, it does look good.
That'd be a really long run.
Yeah, I think that area was off limits
Okay.
anyways. But
I know Chris, like Johnson, he caught like a 19-pound bag that second day running to Barkley
yeah,
with all the crazy.
he was going way over there. That's what I mean. There were some big bags caught over there. And I always feel like I'm gonna go, and I've just never done it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to. Well, I mean, Kentucky Lake of old. It's not the Kentucky Lake of old, but so it might be a better option to go to Barkley now than maybe it was 15 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't done it. I probably should.
Yeah, it's a big lake too. I mean, it's a big. You got grandiose ideals when you show up, and next thing you know, you're out of time. You know, it's,
Yeah,
you just
but
can't.
that's what I mean. Like just running from Paris. I mean, you're looking at. I mean, it's probably 50 minutes to get over there, 45
Yeah,
minutes for sure. And that's just to get into Barkley. And then depending on where you're going from there, you could have another, 15, 20-minute ride.
yeah, and that's if you don't have weather to deal with. I mean, that
Yeah.
it doesn't take. You get 10-mile-an-hour wind, 12-mile-an-hour wind. That changes that lake pretty
Yeah,
significantly.
especially if it's out of the north. And
Yeah,
we did have north winds during that tournament. It wasn't like weather-wise, travel-wise, it wasn't that bad, but there were a couple instances where, like, I think it was day one coming back, bad storms, like you're driving through like just downpours, and wasn't ideal.
Break says he has all the core tackle. The hook sizes scare me. He wants some bigger hooks for largemouth.
We've got some bigger stuff coming.
Okay.
We've got bigger the weedless wacky shots and straight shank wacky shots. We've got some 3/0 sizes coming. We're looking at doing bigger scamper rigs. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like we don't have endless pockets, and if you want to just coming out with say one hook size bigger, if you do 3 weights, you're looking at 3 different SKUs. If you want to carry heavy inventory, it's a pretty good investment just to bring on a few new sizes of an existing product.
And don't be scared of smaller hooks either.
Yeah, and
Underrated.
honestly, I don't know who left that comment. Oh, Break Fishing left that comment. I it's probably more me than anything. Like Johnny and I fight over hook size a lot. I've always been a fan of smaller hooks. I personally think you get more bites and your landing percentage is generally as good if you're using a hook, as long as the hook's not like tiny. Johnny is very much like, the typical, like, I want the 7/0 hook and like oversized big hooks. So we argue a lot, and I probably should give in more to him because I think the majority of bass anglers prefer maybe not Johnny's big hooks, but like bigger than the stuff that I like generally.
Yeah, that 4 and 5/0 size. It's like I like a jig. Yeah. I like a jig with a 2/0 and a 3/0, but a lot of guys like a 5/0.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, the swim jigs we offer, there are a lot of people like the swim jigs are 4/0 jig hooks. I mean, they're good heavy duty hooks, but you put that in the hands of somebody down in Florida throwing swim jigs on 65-pound tests, and they're like, I need, this isn't strong enough. And I'm like, if you bend that hook, you're fighting gators at that point. Like, but it's just how it is.
Yeah, it is relative, for sure. Let's see. Let's give this thing away. Let this run for a little bit. We will draw. Otter cat.
Hmm.
Otter
That's
cat.
my spirit. That's my spirit animal.
Your spirit animal. Which one? An otter or a cat? Or
Otter.
the whole
No,
thing?
not the cod. I am such a sucker for otters.
It's like a liger. It's an otter cat. You like the otters, huh? Don't they eat a lot of
I don't
fish?
know how you can't.
They
Yeah,
are cool, man.
I mean, they may eat a lot of fish, but that just means they're good fishermen.
That's right.
Don't be jealous of that.
Don't be hating on the otters.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll set up another one.
So you'll just like last time, just email me their contact info or whatever, and then I'll ship it to them.
Yeah. So Ottercat, just hit me up on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram, and I'll get your information over to Matt, and he'll take care of you. Let me set up another one of these real quick, and we'll give away that $25 Baitworks gift card. Give me just a second here. Let's do. We'll just do. Art. Okay. All right. Here we go. If you want to get involved in the $25 Baitworks gift card giveaway, hashtag capital OTT for Otter, short for Otter, since that's Matt's spirit animal. We'll go with that. We'll let that run for a little bit. So how you feeling about the EQs coming up, man? You qualified, right?
Yeah. I'm feeling fine with them, I guess. The fact that they're fall fishing, generally, I think usually that means it's a little bit tougher fishing. They're doing a coin flip for the between the first two events and then the last event for forward facing sonar. I don't know that I really care one way or the other. We've got the first one is Lake Norfolk, so that's an Ozark style lake.
Yeah.
And then the second one is Toledo Bend, and then the third one's Gunnersville. So they're going to coin flip if Norfolk's forward facing, then Toledo Bend won't be, or vice versa, and then they'll do a separate coin flip for Gunnersville. And I honestly feel like all three of those fisheries, whether it's forward facing or not, there's I feel like I've got a good understanding of what I would want to do. It's just a matter of finding the right areas and places. I am excited that they're going to be smaller fields. I mean, I don't know exactly what it will be, but I think it's under 150 boats. I think it's going to be probably 130-ish, something like that, I think. So from that standpoint, that opens the lakes up a little bit compared to the 200 plus that we've been having with the other opens. Man, it's just one of those things. It's like, we'll go do our thing. There is part of me that says swing for the fence more, and that's a term that I don't necessarily like, but you're really you got to have a really good tournament in one of those three. Like, it's how I look at it. Like, if you could have a top 10 and then a couple of good solid top 30s, I think you probably can make it. It's just a matter of making that happen. So there is that I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I'm not sitting here excited like I've accomplished anything. I feel like I've done what I should do, and I'm just moving on to the next set, and now it's just do what I need to do.
This is the real game right now. The next
it kind of feels like, okay, we moved on from the regular season into the playoffs, and now it's like put your big boy pants on and go do what I know how to do. And I've never been, being from Wisconsin, there's not, like, lakes have never been a big, obviously I would love to have something up here, right? Or in the upper Midwest, or in, the north part of the country. And we don't have that, but it's like, at this point in my career, it's like I've been to all these lakes. I pretty much know what to expect. Now, I'm just got to go do it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I mean, you put up with the first half of the year just to get here, right? Like, and now hopefully we can go and have a nice little heater, 3 tournament heater. That's what we're looking for.
Do you like the break? You know, because there's
yeah, I mean,
gap,
well,
pretty gap.
I do and I don't. I mean, I love the fact that I'm getting to enjoy my summers up here, which is what we live up here for. Like
Yeah.
the Wisconsin summers are gorgeous. So I'm getting to enjoy that. The part I don't like, there's a lot of anglers out there, especially if you're younger, less established anglers. If you qualify for the elites in November, it's hard to really turn that into sponsorship dollars for a season that starts 2 months later, right?
Yeah, no kidding. That's a fast turn.
I'm very, very fortunate to work with the companies that I work with, Bridgeford and Berkeley and, Pure Fishing, Skeeter, Yamaha. Like, I have really great sponsors, and I'm not really worried from that standpoint. The part that does become more of a hassle is for me, it's more like things like selling the boat. Generally I have my boat sold in like August or September, and in this case I need to hold my boat though all the way up into November. Well, I mean, my lakes are freezing over in November, so honestly what that does is that removes a lot of the buyers out of the market. Like, nobody wants to buy a boat in November and then store it until April up here. And a lot of people from down south don't want to come up to Wisconsin to buy a boat if they're traveling in potentially ice or snowstorms or whatever. There's hurdles like that. I'm more than willing to deal with those hurdles. It's not like a giant issue by any means, but it's things like that I would prefer to have the season over a little bit sooner. Maybe we end it in October than November, but it is what it is. That's how it's set up at this point, and we'll roll with it. I've honestly, like, the more I've done this, the longer, I've been making a living in some form or fashion in the fishing world. It's like the more I'm just willing to roll with the punches when it comes to the tournament world. Like, all right, this year they got us going to November. Next year it may end in August. It's like, you tell me where to show up, I'll show up and fish it. I mean, that's really how it feels. And I'm totally cool with that, because I choose to do it, and I'm more than willing to deal with what they have. Come on, Ottercat. Oh, I thought Ottercat was going 2 for 2.
Jake was the last guy to enter. He was the last guy. Congratulations, Jake.
They should all get a prize for hanging on this long with us.
No doubt.
Just rambling.
We've been talking about all kinds of stuff. 391.
This is what always happens. When I come on this show, we just end up going off the tracks.
This is real organic fishing talk. I love it. It's just kind of whatever happens. And we started with soccer. We went through quantum, like, positive through the fishing line. Trees. Yeah, we tree roots and leaves and giraffes and kind of all over the place, man. That's what it's all about. Yeah, so Jake, just get a hold of me and we'll get you taken care of. So one more question and we'll wrap it up, because we got other lives besides fishing and stuff. What do you feel? Maybe we touched on this already last time, but I feel like it's still relevant. So I know I know you're fishing the Bassmaster side of things, but on the MLF side of things, the BFL numbers have been down a lot this year. I mean, it's more so in some leagues than other leagues, but definitely been down. What do you feel is responsible for some of those numbers? Can you pin it on like just one thing? Is it a combination of several different things? And then do you think that, if they change the rules in 2027, do you think that's gonna mix things up, gonna draw more people in? Or, I mean, what's your thoughts about all of this as a whole?
I mean, I think there's a handful of things. I personally think the economy is probably more of a factor than anything. I know everyone again wants to point at forward-facing sonar. I absolutely agree that forward-facing sonar has a part of this, but right now, I mean, I think I've said this for a while. I think from a tournament perspective, we're really at a point where the risk reward is not good. And I think a lot of people recognize that. And it's not worth giving up a weekend to go fish a tournament where even if I cash a check, it's probably not going to cover my expenses. And I
Right.
think there's, when you mix that in with people going to the grocery store, spending a ton of money every time they go to the grocery store, to filling up their trucks and, cars, and it costing more than what it used to, I mean, every bill I get, I look at and I go, I don't understand. Like, how did this double? Like, how did this go up 20%? Like, everything is just more. And,
Mhm.
the fishing tournaments for the most part, especially at like the BFL level and the lower levels, are entertainment. I mean, that's truly what they are. I mean, for most people, they're a source of entertainment. And I just think we're at a point right now where the payouts are terrible. The expense to fish them are higher than they've ever been. And the expense on other areas of everyone's lives are also probably towards the high end of what they've always been or what they ever have been. And I think that's a lot of pressure on trying to get people to commit to fishing a tournament. And then I think when you also have, you throw in, you've got forward facing sonar, right? And you got a co-angler that goes, well, I don't want to fish with somebody who's going to do that. And then they stop fishing from that perspective. I think there's a lot of, I mean, honestly, I have a lot of friends that fish as much as they ever have, but they haven't fished the tournament in the last couple of years. And they spend a lot more time now fishing for crappie and bluegill,
Yeah.
and just they're fun fishing. And I get that. Like, I mean, for me, I have to go fun fishing. Generally, I like to fish for other species because that really, it brings back the love of the sport, right? Like, as soon as I fish for a different species, I'm not thinking about how do I apply this to my tournaments. And that, because I'm not worried about that aspect of it, it just reminds me how much I love fishing. Like, if maybe that doesn't make sense to people, but like for me, that really works. So I spend a lot of time fishing for other species. And, I think there are anglers right now that have moved away from bass tournaments to either just fun fish for bass or they fun fish for other species. I think there's a lot of anglers that I I I feel like are just frustrated with all the gossip and the hullabaloo and
Yep.
drama, and for whatever reason they're not getting involved either. So I think when you've got all these various aspects coming together, that I guess if we were to sit down and talk about tournaments, how many new things over the last couple of years would you go, oh man, that's a great reason why to fish the tournament? I don't feel like there are that many positives that have popped up recently in terms of like really being a good reason to get involved in tournament fishing. I think most of us fish tournaments because we're addicted gamblers to bass fishing, and we love it. We love the competition. And if the prizes aren't getting better and the reason to fish them hasn't improved, it's hard for me to say there should be more people coming into them. It would make more sense that people would be leaving it.
Yeah, it's I agree with that. I mean, that makes total sense. It's expensive. I kind of look at it. So somebody like me, I'm completely different than you as far as your role. You're doing it for I'm a letter carrier.
I bet we're not that different, actually.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, why do you fish tournaments?
Well, I was talking about like my job. I get my income from being a letter carrier for the Postal Service.
Yeah.
So that's where my source of income comes in. But if I wasn't doing that, and I was trying to make it, tournament fishing, it would be, I feel like that's where you're at somewhat. Yeah, you've got core and you've got sponsorships and stuff like that, but you fishing tournaments is kind of It's part of who you are, part
It's
of your job
yeah,
as well.
it's part of my role at this point, right?
Sure.
But
But why? But
yeah, go ahead.
why do I fish tournaments? It's got to. And it's funny. I was thinking about it. So I jumped in a tournament like a couple weeks ago. This dude needed a link for a BFL, and I linked up with him and I jumped in it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it. I was thinking about why do I do this? Because I can go to this same lake. It was over in Illinois, Wren Lake, and I can just
God.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was brutal. Rocks, lay down, rocks, lay down, rocks, lay down. But I'm like, I can hook up my boat and I can go over there and I can just go fishing too and do basically the same thing that I was doing. Why do I have to put money on the line, and why do I have to be in a competition at this point in my life where, I don't have a lot of ego. I got a little bit of ego, and I'm not trying to, it doesn't do me too much good to like puff my chest up because I made a top 5. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardware's cool and all that kind of stuff. I got some stuff back there, whatever. But I don't think that I'm doing it for that anymore. I've got, that's something that kind of left me like a while back. I mean, so there's something deeper than that the reason I do it. Part of it is I like hanging out with the guys, like just bumping elbows. It's a little bit of a, it's a camaraderie.
It's we all got it in common. We all got bass fishing in common, right? Like it's
it's a little brotherhood. Yeah. But there must be some like underlying gambling thing. I don't really know. I don't really know.
Well, exactly. Did you play sports in school, high school, or wherever?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wrestled. Like, and I played soccer, like football.
Yeah, I mean, there is a competitive aspect to it, right? Like, so I think I would be willing to bet you most anglers probably have that competitive aspect, like that have always had that, whether it was high school sports or, whatever, like club stuff. Like, I think there is. I mean, I know for me, like, shit, if I go to shoot hoops in the driveway right now, there's a good chance I'm rolling an ankle. Like, it's just gonna happen, right? Like, I mean, I might roll an ankle using the trolling motor at this point, but the thing is, like, it's still a viable competitive outlet for me, and I think that's it. I agree. Like, I don't. The trophies are more about at this point for me, a lot of it is like vindication. It's like it justifies what I've done. Like, and I think that's probably different for everybody, but I've always had this, like, I mean, I left a really good job to pursue fishing. And there were a lot of people that flat out said I was an idiot for doing it. And I look back on it and I go, that was like one of the dumbest things I've ever done, from like a,
swinging for the fences.
Yeah, dude. Like, I truly chose happiness over like financial security. But it's like, so at this point for me, a lot of it is like, man, like when I won a few years ago, there was such a sense of relief. Like, I felt like, man, I finally can say I did it. Like, at that level. I've done it basically at every other level, but it was like, man, that felt so it just felt very relieving. Like, it felt like a burden was taken off my shoulders. And but I still have that now, where it's like the tournament, because the tournaments are just like part of what I do now. Like, it's a great marketing vehicle for Core Tackle. It's a great marketing vehicle for sponsors. It allows me to make content. Everything I do goes like this, right? So it's like, when I have that, it's great. It's just another part of it. But the tournaments, in my opinion, these days are not an actual career source on their own. Like, there used to be a lot of guys that would go win enough money that's all they did. They didn't care about sponsors. They didn't care about whatever. They just drove from one tournament to the next, and they could make a living doing that. There's so few guys that can do that right now. Like, I mean, there's probably 5% of the anglers that truly are like if you were to look at their winnings to expenses, making a living doing that. So at this point for everyone, there's got to be a bunch of different facets that go into this career, whether it's tournaments are an outlet for content, it's an outlet for your sponsor portfolio. Like there's so many different things that, like at this point for me, I don't view it as much as I love the competition, it's no longer like about the competition as much as it used to be. Now it's more like just another facet of the job that allows me to achieve all these other goals.
Yeah. I think as far as like being a fisherman and just making a living off fishing, you almost have to just like compete on one body of water. Like if you just fish all the tournaments on Kentucky Lake or all the tournaments on Lake of the Ozarks,
I think you could there'd be a lot of anglers that would do better doing that. I mean, I still struggle with that. When I gave up or left local fishing to start fishing the FLW tour, I mean, I was banking. I mean, it wasn't crazy money, but I mean, I was probably making $30 plus $1,000 a year fishing, like clearing that fishing just local tournament. Yeah, local tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I took that money and rolled that into the FLW tour my first year, which was about $30,000 in expenses, and have kind of rolled that up to where I'm at, or allowed me to keep treading water to get to where I'm at now. But I often look back and go, man, there's a lot of years where I've had, to if you fish now on the pro circuit with your entry fees and expenses, if you cash a $10,000 check in 6 tournaments, make 60,000. Well, your expenses for the year were about 50,000.
Yeah.
So you only made $10,000 to do it. It's like I could make more money, I think, just fishing around the house here and do better. And I think, and that's fishing around here in Wisconsin where we don't have the higher dollar tournaments. If you happen to be on a lake like Kentucky Lake or a Sam Rayburn or Gunnersville, I mean, there's major local tournaments that pay pretty dang good money, and you can sleep in your own bed.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah, I don't know about the tournament fishing thing. It's like maybe there might be I was just thinking about there might be a little bit of ego underlying there still, but it's not like it was when I was younger and I had something to prove. But it's interesting. It's like there's always a letdown though. So there's the preparedness and the amped up, and it's coming, and you're excited about it. You're looking forward to it, and then even if you do really good, it seems like there's like this day or two afterwards where I'm kind of like mopey. I'm just feel kind of down for whatever reason, and
it's because you feel like you've done what you should do. That's the problem. Even when I agree completely.
Then you want to do it again. It's like
for me, it's like when you have a really good tournament, you feel like, yeah, I did what I think I'm capable of doing. Right. So like the high isn't that high. It's more satisfied feelings.
Yeah.
When you do bad, you crush yourself because you're like, what did I do? Like, and so the lows are really low and the highs are not that high. So it is a weird feeling because you just kind of feel like, yeah, man, I did what I should have done. Let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna try to do it again. But you're not like, there's not some crazy feeling. Like I do think if you win a tournament, like I mean, dude, I've had like top 5 finishes where I mean I was crushed. Like I couldn't leave the parking lot. Like, and I literally sat in my car and just had to like compose myself for the drive home because I was so distraught over like having the chance to win.
Yeah, right.
Where you would think when you finally win, you just are like, gonna throw a party, gonna go crazy. And it's not, it's like, it was just that sense of relief for me. Like, and which is great. Like I'll never forget that moment, but it also was like not as high as you would expect it to be.
Well, so that tournament just last weekend, I finished 22nd, right? you know, whatever. There was only like 73 boats or 75
Yeah.
boats. But I caught everything. I fished clean. I felt like I was throwing the right baits in the right scenarios to give me the best opportunity to catch fish. I felt like I did what I could do. You know, it was one of them deals where it is what it is. I don't feel like I did anything stupid. I didn't swing a fish and it fell off in the lake, or hit the bump rail, or did a weenie hook set and missed a fish. None of that happened. I fished clean.
Yeah.
So, you know, of course I would have liked to have finished higher, but I don't feel like I sucked, you know, it is what it is. But then there's been plenty of tournaments where I finished like 8th or 9th and I jumped a 3-pounder off. You know, I jumped a 4-pounder off. I saw a fish that would have done so much for me.
Yeah.
And those are the tournaments that, like, even though I had a top 10 finish, I feel like I finished like 70th or 80th or something. I don't know what it's like. I left some out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you have a bad tournament, you'd always rather have a bad tournament. For me, I'd rather walk away going, I have no clue. I have no clue what happened.
Right.
Than going, I lost, 4 fish, and if I catch 2 of them, I get a check.
That hurts.
Those are way worse to deal with, because what you were doing was decent at that point. You just didn't execute.
Yeah, 100%, man. Those are the ones that hurt them. And you also
tournament fishing, soul crushing.
It is, and then you realize how hard it is to get in a position to actually sniff a win or sniff a top 5. Yeah. And you were right there. You're like, man, I was right there and I screwed it up. So that hurts.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're looking at 2.5 hours. That was a fun stream. We covered a lot of stuff. Thanks for coming on, Matt. It's always a good time, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back on. Whenever you need me, I love doing this. This is these are fun. I never know where they're going.
Yeah, everybody out there, go check out Core Tackle. I got a bunch of cool stuff coming out. Follow Matt as he ventures into the EQs, and I'll be following it. I'm ready for some live fishing. It starts out hot and heavy, and it goes pretty strong. Yeah. And there's this void right now where there's nothing happening. So I'm ready for it to kick back off.
I mean, I'm getting ready to get back out there. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like you take a couple of. I mean, it hasn't been that long for me, a couple months at this point, but I'm kind of itching to get back out there.
Yeah, gotta get back, and you don't want to get too far out of fishing shape, then you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Be safe out there in the water. Till next time, stay hydrated.